care, like that sick care model, more toward optimization and longevity. Is it ever too late? Do you ever find that it's just ever too late for somebody to kind of go down this path?
Well, like there's the old Chinese proverb, when's the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today. I was 60 pounds heavier than I am now. I had chronic autoimmune, chronic fatigue. I was just in a very sick place. So like the growth hormone releasing peptides, they'll increase that growth hormone release for it's a short amount of time. But what it does is it gives your body a little pulse of growth hormone, opens up your own body's growth hormone. It's not like an exogenous hormone that we're injecting. It's just opening that up. And then your body heals faster. It recovers quicker. You can build muscle.
Hey guys, a quick moment of your time. First off, thank you. A heartfelt thank you for finding and joining the Aging with Innovation podcast, where we have valuable discussions with professionals in the senior care industry every single week. Everything from specialized dementia program experts to non-medical and medical home health agency owners, all the way to geriatric physicians, functional medicine practitioners, and even mobile wound care providers. And really all geared toward helping seniors understand what's out there and available to them. And even so they can take some agency, apply some of these lessons and things that we discuss into their own lives to improve the quality of their health. And also just to get a better understanding of what service providers can do for them and what's available in their area. So if you could do me a quick favor, I'd greatly appreciate it if you can go on and subscribe wherever you're watching this show. It would mean the absolute world to me. Thanks again, and let's get back to the show. Cade, I am really excited to have this conversation. I was digging into your work, your website, Ageless Future, and the thing that stood out to me that I feel like is going to frame this entire conversation is really what's at the top of your website, which is make the next decade your best decade. And I love that because I think to me what it means is you're focusing more on that like biological age versus chronological age. And we'll dive into that. And I have some like really pointed questions for you. But the thing that I think is really cool is your program, your work is kind of representing this shift from like sick care, like that sick care model, more toward optimization and longevity. Right. And how do we create an environment for people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and probably even their 70s or 80s, right, where they're not reactive in their health anymore. It's like, well, what can I do? Because we're living longer, right? What can I do to optimize my health and have quality of life with longevity over the long term? So that's what I think we'll dive into today. And I'm excited to have you.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, and our slogan, so make your next decade the best decade, or your best decade, is we love the thought of that because in traditional medicine or just in lifespan in general, the human race has started to extend life. But those last 10 years for most people are not an ideal last 10 years. They're pretty like isolating. They're very low activity and not as fulfilling as we believe life should be. And so that's kind of where that slogan came from. It's like, let's at any point where you're at in your health journey, let's make the next 10 years your best 10 years. And we believe that when health improves, everything improves, from your relationships, your financial stability, like all those different aspects fall into place when you can have a really good healthy ground, like just health grounding you. Obviously, have like spirituality, I think for everyone's a really important piece, but if you can have some really good ways that you're moving your health forward, oh man, it's Like it just changes life significantly. It changed my life. I wasn't always into health.
Yeah. And I want to come back to that because I know you have a personal transformation. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit. But what I think would be good now, you've worked with your team have worked with thousands of people at this, maybe tens of thousands. I don't know the exact number, but a lot, and have witnessed transformation after transformation. Is it ever too late? Do you ever find that it's just ever too late for somebody to kind of go down this path?
Well, like there's the old Chinese proverb, when's the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today. And so, yeah, like it doesn't matter where someone's at in their health journey. If you can start doing something today, what's so cool about our biology is you can make little changes and little tweaks on a daily basis, and you're going to have better health expression from those changes. Like even we see it in 80 90 plus year olds that are making improvements from a physiological standpoint. We can look at their labs and have objective measures, but their mental clarity is better, their energy is better, like all those things. And so that's what's so cool about our biology, and just like knowing how to look at your labs and look at your physiology and finding different ways to make some moves there. And it's exciting to see. We see it all the time.
Yeah. It's funny because I talk with a lot of people in their later years, and it's weird because we say like later, that's so subjective. Is that 60s? Is that 80s? Is that 90s? I don't know. But I saw a guy in the sauna at the gym that I go to, and he was talking to an older guy, and he was like, yeah, I can't stand being in the sauna as much as I used to. I used to be able to be in here for like an hour. Now I can only tolerate 30 minutes. And the guy asked him, how old are you now? And he's like 24. I'm like, oh my God, come on, man. Like, you're 24. Like, you haven't even lived yet. And so I say that to illustrate the point that, that it's so subjective in what we think those older years are. But what I'm curious about for you, I can tell this is something you're really passionate about. You have a tremendous skill set, expertise in, and thousands of transformations. Like, how did you get into this? Like, what is your background and your story here?
Yeah, so my story was not originally in health. Actually, in early years in college, I did some pre med. I actually decided I wasn't going to go into that field, though. It was later on in my career. My background's more in I got a degree in finance, was working for kind of more corporate roles, managing a lot of big teams and people. And I like essentially burned myself out. I was 60 pounds heavier than I am now. I had chronic autoimmune, chronic fatigue. I was just in a very sick place. And I reached out to my brother Reagan. He's the original founder of it was East West Health. Now we've gone to Ageless Future as our name.
And he opened in 2004, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's not like longevity and like the peptide space. That's a really hot topic right now, and there's a lot of people jumping in on that. We've actually been in this space for 20 plus
Yeah.
years.
I thought it was important to highlight that it's not something that you guys just decided to do, a year ago. This has been around for over 20 years.
Yeah, yeah. And so so I reached out to Reagan and I just said, hey, like I need some help. It wasn't necessarily the weight at that point. My brain fog was really bad. I'd come home from work and just didn't even have enough energy to do anything with my kids or anything. And so um, he, over the course of about 30 or about 3 months or 90 days, lost decent amount of weight, but I got my energy back. I got like my brain back. I was just charged up. And then over the course of 9 months, lost a total of just under 60 pounds. And I was just super fired up on health and like this is amazing. I want to bring this to other people and figure out how we can really um, just transform more people's lives this way. And so yeah, we started working together. So Reagan and I have been working together for over 12, since 2013, I guess, is when we opened an office together. And yeah, we've been working on like getting this message out to as many people as possible. And we really do work with really amazing high performers that whether they're kind of where I was at, where you've just poured so much into your life, your business, your work, your whatever it is, because I think that's a lot of times what we do as individuals is we pour our soul into certain things, but we don't take enough time to really take time for ourselves to make sure we're following the right habits to really create health resilience. And what's really cool is we've just found so many cool ways of how to we call it the peptide bypass, but you can bypass a lot of the struggle and the willpower and all those things that it requires to have the health resilience that you want. Because there's certain ways that we can just really dial in health. So yeah, that's how I got started in it, and it's been a really fun journey ever since.
Yeah, and there's a couple things that you said there, particularly around willpower and struggle, and I think this will be good to kind of add some color to. But before we do, I guess talk to me a little bit about like Ageless Future and what is the process? What is it that you will actually do? Like I'm a new client coming in, maybe I'm 65 years old and I have decent health, some things that I know I need to work on, but I'm feeling the brain fog. I'm feeling some lethargy. Maybe I don't have the muscle mass that I used to, but I know that, or I believe at least that maybe I can still make some improvements. Like, what do you guys do? How would you help?
Yeah, so we take people through. So our essentially our process is very very diagnostic based. So we'll run through what we call our longevity blood labs. And in there's some traditional lab markers that you're going to get at your doctor's office, like a CBC, a CMP. We'll also dive really deep into some different autoimmune markers, all the like pretty much every hormone that's really impactful on the body from a male or a female. There's a few different panels there, and then from there we take those labs and really like dial in a specific protocol and plan and action plan from those. So I think what a lot of things are missing in health in the healthcare system is like a really good action plan and something that people can follow through on rather than just like you run the labs and everything looks kind of normal. Here's a medication for this or that. It's really like what we do is we dial in, okay, here's everything that's going on. And then we narrow the parameters to where what's functional as opposed to disease. Because, traditional medicine's just focused on where are the disease patterns in your labs. And if you're not out of range, then you're just fine. But the problem is how they measure those ranges is based on bell curves and averages. So, if you really think about who goes and gets their labs done, it's mostly sick people. And you could say, okay, well, I'm as healthy as the average sick person if you're within normal range.
I never thought of it that way, but that's such a good point, right? And also, like, when I think about it, I'm like, well, I don't want to be average. Like, I want to be better than average. And granted, like just because a number's higher doesn't mean that it's better. But for an example, like testosterone, right? Maybe the average range is what, between like 300 and 800, or 900, somewhere in that range. But if you're at 300, vastly different experience on a day to day versus if you're at 7, 8, 900, right? In
Yeah.
free testosterone. So, and I've experienced that because like I've had labs done. It's like, oh, everything looks like it's within normal range. And then I worked with a functional medicine practitioner, and they're like, oh my goodness, we got to adjust this, and this. And I was like, oh, okay. There's a whole world to this that I'm not even aware of.
Yeah, and so like we'll look at those labs very comprehensively, and then we put together very customized peptide stacks, nutrition and lifestyle stacks, and then we have fitness advisor that kind of works on the fitness side of things. We have we call them health integrators, so they'll help integrate nutrition plan, the fit, like they'll help integrate whatever that practitioner puts together, and then obviously the practitioner is guiding the care process throughout. But again, we do this all over the world. We're able to help people through Zoom and video all over. And so from there we'll usually do a 6-month protocol, and then we call it our Ageless Future Operating System, and it's just that very unique way of clarifying what's needed, what's deficient, diagnosing from we predict and then diagnose from what's happening. We predict, hey, we believe that this is going to be the best process and protocol, and then it's all about rejuvenation and regeneration. So we'll use other modalities to help with that regeneration process. Yeah.
Things, the words that you've brought up a couple times in terms of modalities is peptides. And I think that is coming more into popularity now, but I also think there's a large percentage of the population who's not really aware of what peptides are, what they do, and the application for them. And it seems like it's a pretty integral part of your programming, after completing, the functional labs and seeing what's going on. But I guess, for the average listener, could you explain really what those peptides are, what they mean to the individual?
Yeah. So peptides, they're naturally occurring short chain amino acids in the body. So if you it's just little building blocks of amino acids. So they're very natural based, but you can get them through pharmacies will make these different peptide strings, and they send signals and help our body really just like open up different pathways. And so, there's different peptides that will help with different things. What most people are familiar with is like Ozempic, Manjaro, the big weight loss peptides. Those weight loss drugs, those are actually peptides. Now, how some of those are prescribed is there's some differing opinions, I guess, is a politically correct way
It's a nice way to say it.
But what we look at is how can we really maximize the result of those peptides, as well as being on the same peptide for a really long time isn't necessarily the best thing. Like a lot of people have heard of BPC 157. It's amazing peptide. It's made in our gastric secretions. But what it does is it can help with healing up like leaky gut. So it's great for digestive health. It's also amazing for like muscle, ligament, tendon. So if it's kind of known as the Wolverine stack. So you think about Wolverine, how he heals from everything. BPC helps with that healing process, and that's actually a naturally occurring thing in our body. But when you can get some increase in that peptide in your body, you're increasing your body's ability to heal. And so if we can find those pathways that are blocked, then we can open them up with different peptides. So just think of them, they're similar to like a hormone, but a lot smaller, more safe, like from a um if you jack with someone's hormones, they're gonna feel all sorts of out of whack and things. You can't. There's been studies on a lot of these different peptides, and to overdose on them, other than like the GLP ones, that's where you got to be really careful. But um, yeah, like the lethal dose is unknown because you can't
You'd have
actually.
to administer so much that it would be unreasonable that anyone would ever take that amount.
Yeah, and it's something that's a more natural approach as opposed to like your traditional drugs, a statin or something like that to lower or increase a metric on your labs. It's more like using peptides to help open up different pathways so your body can function, send the signal the right way. So yeah, they're just little signaling molecules in the body that help with better communication. So your body, your organs, tissues, muscles, ligaments, they can all function more optimally.
And how is that administered? Is that orally? Is that an injection? Like, how do people take these peptides?
Yeah, it's kind of all of the above. The most like the easiest, most effective way that we've found is injectable. So it's subcutaneous. So it's like a little tiny insulin needle, pretty painless process. There are like we've worked with the pharmacy to get better oral options because sometimes injecting is not the most comfortable thing. The challenge is our digestive system really like it breaks down stuff when it gets in there, and these peptides are fairly, yeah, they're pretty fragile molecules, and so the injection seems to be the best way, especially if someone's got digestive issues. We can bypass the digestive system and get it into the system more effectively through a subcutaneous injection. But yeah, there's oral, there's nasal sprays that are phenomenal from a more cognitive perspective and everything.
What about peptides like CJC 1295? I wrote these down because I wouldn't have remembered them. And ipamorelin. Am I saying that correctly, by the way? Okay. Yeah, so it looked like they were more connected to growth hormone stimulation. I guess could you shed some light on those peptides?
Absolutely. So yeah, your CJC 1295 ipamorelin or ipamorelin. It is so those are growth hormone releasing peptides. So what they do, it's not like you're injecting growth hormone. So there's a big difference. Some people need growth hormone if they're very exceptionally deficient there. But all that those growth hormone releasing peptides are doing is they're opening up that growth hormone pathway for a little bit more extended amount of time. Especially like I think the age is after you hit about 26 to 28, your growth hormone is like very minimal. And so that's essentially it's a big part of why we don't recover as fast from injuries. That kid that 24 seems crazy, but I can't handle the sauna as long. What um
Yeah, I don't know. That was a little, just a silly example.
yeah.
Yeah, I hear it too. The people in their mid and late 20s, like, oh, my body's aching. I'm like, well, what are you doing? I was in my prime in my mid 20s.
Yeah, and that's where like I just we don't allow people to say, "Oh, I'm just getting old," because that can't be an excuse anymore because we have so many tools at our disposal that can help that. So like the growth hormone releasing peptides, they'll increase that growth hormone release for it's a short amount of time, but what it does is it gives your body a little pulse of growth hormone, opens up your own body's growth hormone. It's not like an exogenous hormone that we're injecting, it's just opening that up. And then your body heals faster, it recovers quicker, you can build muscle. Man, it's awesome. One of my favorite peptides is tesmorelin, and combined with ipamorelin. That peptide, I like when I've taken it, and I'll cycle with that quite frequently. But I feel like I get better gains in the gym. I can lift more. My muscle tone is much better. All those things. So yeah, there's some really cool, unique peptides that we'll typically use for 30 to 60 days at a time, and then you can cycle off and use promote other pathways. So what you don't
Yeah.
want to do is burn those pathways out.
Mm. Yeah. And on that, I mean, just hearing some of your subjective experience around it, what I'm curious about is like, why does the average person come to you all? Like, what is it that they're seeking?
Yeah, so typically people are looking for either like weight loss is probably not our biggest one. It's usually like cognitive and energy. They want to perform better at whatever they're working on, whether it's being a better executive, being a better spouse, being a better mother, father, all those things. But they just notice my energy's not what it used to be. I got, you know, I like to have I like to be able to I got a challenge I'd like to do. We work with a lot of people that are, want to be able to run more or we had a client come into us. She literally like could not walk because she had certain pain just going on, and her goal was to hike a mountain, like hike to the a peak of here in Salt Lake. And we actually this was, I think it was last year, we have a video on our Instagram of her like summiting the peak, and she has a cane, like she's not 100% better, but the difference between what she was when she first started with us and where she's at now is light years. And so yeah, just
Approximately how old was she, or is she? Do you know?
I
Or decade at least?
like 70s.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I think that's good to hear because a lot of the people that tend to listen in are, at least on my channel here, are folks like in the senior care industry and also the seniors and their families themselves. And so what I don't want them to think is like, oh, this is for like the 50-year-olds only. Like, no, this is for anyone. And we addressed that in the beginning. It's never too late. But one of the most helpful things that I found kind of illustrate that point is maybe to talk about some of the transformations that you've seen. And maybe there's a story or two. I mean, you mentioned this woman who could barely walk and now is walking a giant mountain with a cane in her 70s. Incredible. But do any other stories come to mind that you think would be worth sharing?
Like another guy that came to us was he just recently retired. He was a super successful architect, and he had like just this amazing brain. He could walk into buildings that he architected. He could remember all the dimensions, all these things. And the reason why he retired, like he was kind of forced to retire, is he started forgetting those things. He just felt like his brain was not sharp. He was that like he was 30, I think about 30 to 40 pounds overweight, and just like didn't feel right. And his wife kind of like pushed him in there and was like, hey, we need to make some changes here. And so he worked with us. So his cognitive he was experiencing some serious cognitive decline. We utilize some specific peptides. We actually do a intranasal stem cell procedure as well. It's just missed through the nasal cavity. He did, like it's impossible to say like there's one peptide that helps with these transformations, because it really
Sure.
is a stack. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's rarely one thing. I can't imagine there'd be like this one magic pill or this one magic compound that cures everything. It's got to be an amalgamation of things.
his homocysteine levels were really high. Homocysteine's a measurement of kind of systemic inflammation. And so we got his homocysteine down. We were able to get a lot of his inflammation in the body and in the brain down. And within 6 months, he's lost, he's like in shape, like 30 plus pounds lost. He's super energized, and he's like begging his wife to let him go back to work because he's like ready to go. And so like there's stories like that all the time, that are super inspiring, but it's really why we do the work that we do. Is like and there's other people that we work with, and actually the majority of our clients come to us that are already at a pretty reasonable health range. They just want to make sure they're like optimizing, especially at like that retirement age when people, we kind of slow down and maybe don't push ourselves. We attract the people that want to continue climbing. They want to continue, whether it's, career. We work with a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners. So they're kind of more like, hey, I want to continue to just drive higher and higher career and business wise. But we also have retirees that just want to live a super like lush life of activity and doing anything that I want to do. If I want to go hike a mountain, I'm gonna go hike a mountain. If I want to go skiing all weekend with one of my buddies, I can do that. I can show up with my 30-year-old kids and go skiing all weekend and have no problems. And so those are the type of people that we really love to work with. And doesn't matter where they're starting, but we love seeing them accomplish that vision and that goal. And then they come to us, and we use a lot of wearables, so they're showing us their HRV level, and oh, my heart rate variability is at 50, trying to get it to here, and they're able to like run and do these different challenges that are just super fun and exciting to see. And hiking big mountains, not maybe, and that can be a smaller scale too. It's like everyone starts somewhere, and I think just like making that commitment that this is what I want to do. And what's the worst thing that could happen is maybe you don't accomplish it, but if you get pretty damn close, that feels pretty damn good.
Yeah, and I think it's all a matter of perspective because everyone's starting at a different starting point. And I was going to ask you, I don't know, do you approach the way that you work with these folks differently based on the decade that they're in, or is it really more so their base level of fitness and health and their biomarkers on their labs that really dictates the course that you take?
That's a great question, and yes and yes. so like it's very much we utilize the labs and where someone's at, and it's more not necessarily the age, because our goal is like our clients, we're going to measure them biologically 10 years or more, 10 years or greater younger than what their chronological age is. So that's like our big goal. We'll look at carotid artery scans and focus on how we can optimize the carotid artery. There's a lot of different age tests, but just looking at their biometric data, we can say, okay, this person's measuring at more of a 50-year-old as opposed to their age is 60. And so, we work with them based on kind of where their skill set and their abilities are, because obviously we're not going to throw them in with our fitness advisor and she's going to have them bench pressing 225 by 10 times if they're not ready for that. But and not that that's the goal for anyone. So don't.
What do you mean every 85-year-old should bench press 225, right?
There's actually there was a dentist, Charles Schuster. He was Olympic bodybuilder. He's super inspirational. We kind of teach about him. We do these monthly summits at our facility where we'll do a day of longevity, and so people can come and experience it. They run labs beforehand. They learn about their labs, and then we do a peptide party and a stem cell party, and it's very educational. It's also fun. You get to network with some really cool people. But that Charles Schuster is someone that we talk about, and he took up bodybuilding in his 70s, and he was an Olympic bodybuilder into his 80s, I believe. Like, he's got a picture of him just looking like ripped. Like it really is never too late. And he was a dentist that wasn't super fit, or wasn't really. I, I think he probably kept up on his health, but wasn't super driven by health. And then I made a few mindset shifts and set some goals, and it's crazy what people can do when they actually have some goals in front of them and have the right team to help kind of facilitate and help guide through that process.
Yeah, I think that sometimes or oftentimes, and this isn't just people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, but any of us, we often get in our own way. And it largely comes down to the stories that we tell ourselves. These are our beliefs, right? And so what comes to mind for me is, some older folks that I've spoken to, some close, some not so close, that the story to them is, well, this is just the way I've always done. I'm in my routine. I don't think I can change now. Um, my work schedule is just too crazy. I couldn't possibly fit another thing in to address my health. And so they continuing on, going down this path that probably in the back of their mind or the front of their mind, they know is going to lead to bad outcomes down the road, but they're not so bad right now. But they know at some point it's going to impact them if it hasn't already. And it's troublesome to me because, like, part of me just wants to, like, shake them and say, okay, you got to do something, right? Like, just commit. We can do it as long as we make it a priority and we believe we can get it done. Like, you can make a change, and it doesn't have to be massive changes overnight, but people resist it so much sometimes. I mean,
So,
have you come across this, or, like, what is your perspective? Like, what would you say to some of these people who are just, they know they need to change, but resist taking that first step?
yeah, so at our last Ageless Future Summit, we had Steve D'Annunzia. He's an author. He has just amazing spirituality guide, but he has this concept. I loved how he put it, but it's easy. So there's easy hard, or there's hard easy, and so most people do the easy thing now that makes their life hard in the future, versus if you do the hard thing first, or you focus on, hey, sometimes it's difficult to make that commitment, and that like, to whether it's go to the gym and exercise or eat the right foods. And I always look at it as another really good book I like, and we actually use it as Atomic Habits by James
Yeah, James
Clear.
Clear.
That's a great book, but um, like, you can just start habit stacking. And so if you start with just changing one little thing, whether it's making your bed in the morning, which my son did not, I had to make the bed for him. I'm in a temporary place here, um, or if it's like eating like whole real foods as opposed to processed junk. It's harder because you got to plan and actually go to the grocery store, pick out some good food, and have it ready and accessible, versus going and buying a bunch of packages and throw them in the pantry or whatever. And so there's those decisions that you can make, but you can just make the decision of whatever that is, and then you actually you resonate with that person, like that's who you say you are. Because the problem is just like you mentioned, is we start telling ourselves these stories of, oh, this is the way I've always done it, and this is the way I'm always going to do it. And essentially you're just making excuses for yourself, as opposed to, if you can start saying, like, well, actually, I don't know why I ever started doing it that way, and that's stupid, so maybe I should do it a different way and see if I can get a different outcome, or a better outcome. And so, yeah, I really like the easy hard, but we'll typically start off. We have 6 essentials that we have people start implementing, which sound super simple. They can be, they're kind of difficult to implement, but we have them start one habit at a time, over the course of about 60 days. And by the end of that is they got some really good habits dialed in. So that's like sleep, get like um, getting the right amount of sleep. It's huge for your health. How you wind down at night is really key too. So eliminating like blue light, eliminating your screen time within an hour. Hydration is another one. Getting half your body weight in ounces of water and get some electrolytes. Like it's crazy how many labs we run and how many people are dehydrated like chronically, and your muscles don't get fueled, your brain loses fuel, like just as simple. And we've all heard it, like, oh yeah, you got to drink a lot of water. But
Yeah.
but
And it's like,
it's
oh yeah, and because it sounds so simple, we almost ignore it at times.
it's
It's like,
not
oh yeah, yeah, right. But
yeah
if you actually were to track how much water you were drinking, like, oh my goodness, all right, well, 6 out of the 7 days this week, I drank more coffee than I did water, or whatever the case was.
Yeah. And yeah, so I'll go through them real quick just so people can have a little bit of a takeaway. But so sleep is huge, hydration. We call it 30-30 exercise. So this is 30 minutes outside. So go for a walk. Like we'll count your walk outside as exercise. Typically you'd get 30 minutes of outside exercise and 30 minutes of like, something where that'll get your heart rate up, some resistant training, some cardio, something that's going to increase the heart rate. And that's 30 minutes by two. So 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night, or you could do an hour. And I think for some that sounds like a lot, but like my process, how I started is I started doing push-ups every morning. I got to the point where I just do, again, if I miss a workout in the morning, I'm doing 50 to 100 push-ups. Like that's what I do. Like if I missed, I hit it today, but if I would have missed it after this, I'd be like pumping push-ups. Like you can do them anytime, do it in between a meeting, do it in between anything. And so like just make the time. So you got exercise, hot cold exposure, like get sauna exposure, take a cold shower. Those things, those heat shock and cold shock proteins can really wake up the vagus system, just really help with your neurological system. And so that can be a really easy thing to kind of execute on. So those are some different like just baseline habits that people can start implementing, and then cut out any added sugar. So we always say less than 1 gram of sugar. So if you're eating something that's packaged, like at least cut out the sugar. There's all sorts of other crap that's going to be in there, but if you can start with that one thing, that's going to lead to a lot more success down the road.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. And I think a lot of people don't take the first step because they look up and they see this mountain that they need to climb, instead of like, well, imagine you needed to climb this mountain, but it was pitch black and all you could see was the step in front of you. Right. So if we can really block that out for a moment and just say, all I got to do is take the first step. It's interesting. I was listening to, and I heard this story before, but about the British cycling team. I don't know if you've come across this before. When they ended up winning a ton of Tour de France's after they were terrible for years and couldn't win anything, but how their coach basically shifted their mind, like forbid them from thinking about winning the race, and all they would think about is just the next pedal, just cycling. And how that shifted. I mean, I'm sure it was many other things too, but that was the philosophy. And like, I think if we applied this to many things, like we just commit to the process and just executing on that, like looking at that as the victory, as opposed to the destination as a victory, we're much more likely to reach that destination if we commit to the process.
So true. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, just make that small change. That's all it is. It's like that one first step, take a step closer to health. And if you really want to like really get strategic and dial it in, that's when get labs run. like get a protocol and a process and get a team to help you out with it. Cause I think that's really where people can just like get some help. You know, you making like that little first step, I think the one of the biggest things that is game changer for me and for all of our clients is actually get some help. Like ask someone, get some guidance and be accountable.
Yeah, I love that. And they, again, coming back to, what are possible barriers? I'm trying to eliminate, what I'm trying to do with this discussion is eliminate any possible excuse or story that people have that would basically stop them from taking, a more serious approach to their health. Because that's something that is important to me. And I try to, lead by example for my kids, for my family, and those that do watch this. So like I've been through the peaks and the valleys, and I know what it's like when I'm working, 50, 60, 70 hours a week. I'm like, how the heck, and stressed, sleeping poorly, right? And just brain fog and trying to figure out how am I going to get out of this valley here. And one thing that I could always go back to, even in those valleys, is just having some element of control, some element of consistency, at least with working out. Right. And it didn't mean that I was going to the gym for 2 hours every day. Sometimes, just like you, well, I just got to bang out some push-ups here, some squats, get my heart rate up. And it's that first step. But what I always found to be true is when I do gain a little bit of momentum, if it feels overwhelming and I feel like there's something in my way, oftentimes it's not because I don't have all the information. It's often because I have a lack of clarity in the steps in which to implement that information. And so I think a program like yours is invaluable because what we're able to do is one is get the data, or you're able to get the data. So now people have that in front of them, right? And you can make decisions based off of that and then have a clear step-by-step action plan utilizing things like peptides, maybe some stem cells in certain cases as well, depending on the individual, so that there's clarity on like this is a path to the outcome. And then you just take those step. But I think what happens sometimes is people are like, well, I can take all of these steps. I have all this information. I'm hearing keto. I'm hearing this. And they're like, man, okay, well, I'll figure this out tomorrow. And then that becomes next year, and that becomes 10 years down the road.
100%.
So that's my rant, my ramble on that. But I think we're both on the same page when in terms of utilizing a program like Ageless Future and why you've been able to help thousands of people achieve really amazing results.
Yeah. Yeah, and you nail it by just like there's so much noise out there, and so our goal is we want to be the signal. There's a lot of people jumping into the longevity space, and we know we're the signal. Like we have a process, and it's just not like you can get a bunch of crazy biohacking tools and gadgets and things, and they're all fun, and I use them, I love them, but at the end of the day, if you can have a system and a process that you can follow through with, man, it makes a world difference.
So I know we're coming up time. The last question I have for you before we obviously connect people to you on social and website and all that stuff. And the question I have is like, what is your next decade, like your ageless future kind of look like? I guess, like, what are the goals, I suppose, that you have over the next maybe 10 years from a health perspective?
No, I like that question. Yeah. So right now, I got like some vanity goals. So I'm like at a 4-pack. So I got to finish out my 6-pack. That's always been a challenge
There you
for
go.
me. That's by the end of the year. But that's more of a shorter term vanity. But yeah, my goal would be is when I'm, in the next 10 years, I want to be measuring at least 10 years younger than myself biologically. I've like had an uphill battle. Like I had like some severe carotid artery issues, like some stuff there. And so yeah, the measuring 10 years younger biologically, and right now, like from a metabolic standpoint, I'm there. There's certain metrics that I'm continually working on more on the heart health side. My dad had some heart issues when he was 50 years old, and so that's one of my things is I want to make sure I'm set up and prepared to have a healthy heart and a healthy just cardiac system. And so that and yeah, more like activities. Continue to snowboard. My big goal is I want to be snowboarding when I'm 100 years old. That's like I love snowboarding, and then I love uh sur- boat surfing. I love boating and
Yeah.
surfing, and so I
You're in the
definitely
perfect place for it out there.
oh yeah. So definitely want to be able to do that when I'm 100 years old. That's essentially the goal is like I can do anything I want till then, and then I do a lot of mountain biking too. Lately I've been working on some other projects in the midst of some other things, so I haven't mountain biked as much as I uh my goal is next year. This year I kind of put some things on the side burner to get some projects done, but next year and for the future is definitely going to be a lot more mountain biking. My dad, he retired down here about 12 years ago. I live in St. George, Utah, and so he moved down here, and that's like his full time job is he just mountain bikes. So I need to go mountain biking with my dad more. He's 75 and still trucking along and doing great. Even with his heart stuff, like he at 25 years ago, he had a massive heart attack, and he's really like worked to get back to where he's at. So yeah,
I
that's my
love
goal.
that. Now, I feel very similar. I can't believe we haven't connected over snowboarding up until now. But in any case, okay, thank you so much. Yeah, side conversation, but thank you so much for being generous with your time. I think this has been invaluable for listeners. And if somebody is out there, they want to find out more information about Ageless Future, be getting their labs done and working with you all, I guess, where do you want people to find you and to go from here?
Yeah, we have a few different places. So agelessfuture.com, obviously you can check us out there. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm not the best at Instagram or social medias, but Cade Archibald, Cade with a C. And our YouTube channel actually has a lot of good content. So we have East West Health. That'll be Ageless Future. We're actually right in the middle of changing that. And then also at Reagan Archibald. That's my brother, business partner. He's got an amazing YouTube channel as well. A little more short stints, a lot more educational stuff on peptides and things. So yeah,
I'll be sure to link all that below in the description here so people can find it easy too.
awesome. Thank you,
All right, man.
TJ.
Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to the next one.
Awesome. Thank you.